So this week's share is called Keeping the Torah for Yourself or Sharing It, right? Which, as you say, Moish, you're not sure what that's about. The real problem is, nor am I. Okay, so at least I hope the case. This week's Parsha is the Parshas Mishpatim, or as we say in England, the Sedra of Mishpatim. What do they say in Israel? Parsha, Sedra. Parsha, okay. So we say Sedra. I don't know why. Anyway, so the Pasuk says, down here, no. Okay. In Kesef Savet, so this is Kof Beis in Mishpatim and Kof Daled. In Kesef Savet, if you lend my people money, Esa Oni Moch, the poor person with you, Losi Eloy Kenosha, make sure this microphone's working entirely. Yes, it is. Losi Shman Alov Nesha. So you shouldn't treat badly, and there shouldn't be no interest in the deal. And the intriguing and famous Rashi there is the Ese Oni Imoch. Rafi says, Rafi says, no, sorry. I didn't have any whiskey. Rashi says, Hari Mistakel Ba'atzmukal Ki'ilo Ata Oli. You've got to be mistakel on yourself as though you're the poor person. Right? So you've got to, when the person's knocking at the door or standing in the shul collecting, then imagine that you are the person at the door. Hello, and just then somebody comes in. Hello. We were just saying, at the door. Somebody's mistakel ba'atzukal. Imagine yourself as though you're the person who is the Oni. That's what the Pasuk says. Later on in the Sedra, now this is interesting, this is what Rabbeinu teaching now, it's the proper halachas, as it were, not just the story of the Torah. But where does he get this idea from? And that's a little bit of I'm not quite sure, well, you see why I'm stuck in a second. At the end of the Sedra, Moshe Rabbeinu gets up to Har Sinai, and he gets up there to get the Torah, or the preparation for getting the Torah, perhaps, and he sees a vision of Elokei Yisrael. He sees Hashem. So obviously it's a vision, a prophecy. And famously, B'sachas Raglov, and underneath his feet, Kamaisa Lifnas, it's up here. The floor is like a brick pattern, a sapphire brick pattern. Ke'etzem Hashemayim L'Tahar, beautiful, all that sort of stuff. Rashi says on that, Lifnas, he Hoyas Olafana B'shas Shibud. That was there in front of him all the time of the enslavement of the Jews in Mitzrayim. To remind them of the tzaras of Klal Yisrael, because they were all enslaved. Bricks, they had to make bricks, then they had to build with those bricks. So, Ma'aseh Levanim. Hello. So, the Ma'aseh Levanim.
Speaking of bricks,
what? No, a door. You come in the door.
Bricks.
Oh, okay, well, he's a Kohen, he's not a brick. Anyway, so Bekitzer, Rashi says there an astonishing thing. That when Moshe Rabbeinu sees a picture of Hashem and he's got this thing, it's bricks, the floor is in the shape of bricks to remind them that Klal Yisrael is meshubed in bricks. Well, the obvious question is that, but this is in Nevi'us. So obviously Hashem, there's no bricks because, and there's no path, he doesn't stand in something, he's not physical. But it's a message for us. Now, interestingly, before this whole idea, the question is, what came first? Moshe Rabbeinu, when he's saying over the Torah, and he says, in Kesef Sav Esami, he says, got to imagine yourself as you're the person standing at the door. Fine. And then it says, when he goes up, he sees a picture of Hashem Yisbarach, and that's the same idea. In order to be able to see somebody suffering, you have to see somebody suffering. Let me tell you what Rabbi Yerucham has to say on the subject. Get this right, because we're coming back to Rabbi Yerucham a couple of times, and make sure I've got my right. That's what was that? Yes, page 11. Good. Over there. I didn't mark that. Good. Listen to what he says. Omar Chazal, Gemara Site in Yud Beis. When it says the Sakas Raglo Kamaisa Lifnas is up here, and underneath Hashem's feet was a floor in the shape of sapphire bricks. Hu Hayasodafana B'Shas Shibud. That was in front of him at the time of the Shibud, L'Zachat Tzaras Yisrael, to remind him of the Tzaras of Yisrael. Shahayim Mishabonim B'Maisa Levanim, as we saw in the Rashi. Sipur Lona Chazal Shakadosh Baruch Hu. Listen to this. Chazal tells that means Shakadosh Baruch Hu Kiviyachol as though Nosa Levenu B'Kedei L'Zachar B'Tzarasam Shahayim Mishabonim B'Avodas Levanim. It's as though Hashem was carrying. I always pictured it as a nice designer studio. You want a nice kitchen. Not at all. There was a pile of bricks there. It was just lying there. It's as though Hashem was carrying those bricks, Kaviyochel, he says, in order to remind them of the tzaras of Klal Yisrael. That's totally different. Just when I was preparing the shir, I didn't even have just a second reading it. I had a picture of a beautiful floor, all nicely designed. Not at all. It's a pile. You see the contractors dump the stuff there. That's what it's like. as though he was carrying it. So let's see what he says. Ve'en b'mesagenu lo havin mahu inin tachas raglav. We have no idea what it means under his feet. Mahu in noslavim, how he carried bricks. Shem seidus amukim meseidus ater. Very big language, but this is very deep stuff, and we're in the deepest territory of the term. Alma. One thing, however, is poshut. We're not talking about Hashem Yisbarach himself. He's got no physical form. As I say, his feet don't go on. He doesn't carry things. He doesn't have a shoulder. He's got no physical form. However, at the same time, as obviously it cannot be taken literally, nor can the message it conveys be ignored. That's to say, he carried bricks. Who emes v'tachas ragav? Who emes? That's emes as well. Shalbari Yisbarach, but kedei l'zach b'tzarosam shel Yisrael. That Hashem Yisbarach, in order to be able to understand the pain of Klal Yisrael, then, but what is there is no other way to do it except to carry bricks. Not for him, but a message for us. In order to be able to understand the pain of somebody's going through, then you have to actually do it. You actually have to do the same stuff. Okay? So far, so good. And so therefore, that's why I got smart twice. To listen to this, because this is Rabbi Rucham. Rabbi Rucham spends a lot of time, as you probably know, in Daskot and Mussar, talking about Nosa, carrying somebody's burden as your own, for the very simple reason that he's Rebbe. Because this spends a long time talking about this concept in Chochmah Mussar. But he says the following thing, if I can find this place. There's a good place to start. Okay, might as well start at the beginning, I suppose. Kamosha Gula Yosses Ma Santi Lev Lisbina. Shalakadosh Baruch V'Yochel. Kamoi Kain B'Moshe, just like the Rabban Shalom paid attention to understand what was going on, as the Pasuk says, which again seems strange. But Moshe as well. This when I saw this, I learned with my Rov, my chavris, one of my chavris is called Rabbi Rakov, Rabbi Naftali Rakov, my Rov's son. And when I saw this, I was jumping up and down. We learn in Bensonhurst, and he says the following thing: the pasuk says "V'halachta b'drachav." You're supposed to copy Hashem. Okay, Mahu racham af ata racham. Just like He's merciful, then you've got to be merciful. Fine, etc. It's a whole list of things there. And that, therefore, is the midas of Hashem Yisbarach, because it says Moshe Rabbeinu goes out to see their burdens. And Rashi says, that what that meant was he gave his eyes and his mind to consider what pain they were going through. That's the exact same as Hashem was considering the pain that going through, which is an echo to the... Now that's what I'm saying, what came first? If the idea of the Livnus Sapir that we said with regards to Hashem is to teach us something, but this is before Moshe, well before that. So was it that Moshe understood that as Nevius? Or did Moshe understand that because he was a mensch? After all, Derek, Eretz, Kadmon, Torah, you've got to have good minas or you're never going to become a Ben Torah. So was it that he was... Sorry?
He hadn't been exposed to it till this point.
I'm not so sure about that.
He hadn't been exposed to this nevuah till now.
That's I'm not sure about. I'm saying he was a no. Is he a
Moshe
Novi?
Rabbeinu was v'yetzalach long before the nevuah.
Yeah, that's right. So did he?
Well,
When his
for the
first
Sneh.
Nevius? I was going to say that the first Nevius is the Sneh. That comes later as well. In fact, 40 years later. But did he have Rocha Kodesh? Derek Eretz Kadmon Torah.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, you don't have to be.
The Yalakan Lakan Be'arkanish. So that there would be no gerim that would come from this fellow. So he was okay with it.
So therefore, so what does that mean? Right? Does he have Nevius? Certainly we can say Rocha Kodesh. I think that's reasonable to say. But I'm saying basic menschlichkeit. You don't have to be such a refined person, I think, although in fact Rabbi Rucham goes into this, but certainly at a basic level you can understand, to understand what somebody's going through, you'd have to mamish feel it. I've told you before, people often come to me to discuss cancer. I'm not a doctor, I'm not an oncologist, but they know my late wife passed away from cancer, and they know that I know what they're going through. So there's a couple who have become very attached to me, to us, because that's what they're going through at the moment. So you know that the guys, you don't have. You don't have to be such a. You don't have to be a tzaddik. That's a pretty basic stuff. Right? So what came first? Okay, we'll leave that for a second. Time to leave it. Come on.
Unfortunately, so many people, Moshe Rabbeinu could have stayed in the palace and looked at what was going on outside and say, "Oy Nebuch," and moved on.
So hold that thought. Listen to what he
says. One
says.
less dish at his table, and I'm
Listen to
feeling for
this.
them.
Sam tell this point. V'nema b'kadosh baruch of Yokol. Shalafish amavar yotz mizeh inyan. Noisa b'adam chavera. We come to the noisa b'adam chavera thing. She'enyona shel midazu. That the fabric of this midah, l'chush b'tzar zulosa b'kol ma she'esha, is to feel somebody's pain as much as you possibly can. L'chura ma inyan hezbainas b'tzar sheni. How does it work? Ragilim ona lahavin inyan hezbainas b'limud. We understand this general idea as you're going into it and understanding. Avol ma mokum hezbainas b'tzar. But how does it work when somebody's in pain? Avol emasu shebegdei l'chosh lahagish b'tzar shel chavero tzarek l'seis lev l'hezbainim. No, the message is to copy Hashem Yisbarach. It's got to put your heart. Literally, it's not just, somebody's around the corner, he's just lost his job, that's terrible. You talk about it to your wife over the table, we must hand him some money or something. No, it's got to be something, it's a constant thing with you. Ra'isi ha'yisurim shel odom adayin, listen to this. Ra'isa ha'yisurim shel odom. If you see somebody else's pain, adayin eno v'lo klum. That's nothing. That's not good enough. Just seeing it, just being upset by it, that's not enough. Sheker hu doiver umirma es atzma. You're lying to yourself. You're kidding yourself on. That just by seeing somebody's pain, that's going to evoke the response that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants you to have. Until you yourself are going to have that feeling. Until you do go and just like Hashem does, make it a constant concern. That's what it means. Boom! This is a bit of jumping up down. And the Medrash says in Shemais Rabbah, Per Aleph, Al Moshe Rabbeinu Lashon v'yarbasid loisam. When he went out to see them, what did he do? Listen to this. Noisan ksofav Messiah l'kol echad ve'echad. He just didn't go out and see them schlepping huge big bricks and weights and stuff. He helped them. He put his shoulder to it. You're only going to be markish it if you can really experience it. Remember I told you I locked myself in the dungeon in the castle?
Yeah.
Didn't I?
It's like Houdini couldn't escape his when it wasn't locked.
Sorry?
It's like Houdini tried escaping with something that wasn't locked.
Well, this was locked. There's a castle on our north of Manchester called Lancaster Castle. So basically, Castor or Chester is the Latin word for castle. So if you find a place with Lancaster or Chester or Manchester, that's the same. Apart from America, just copy the original names. But in Europe, that means there was a castle there. So there's a Roman fort there. It's just at the border between England and Scotland in the northwest. And Michael Bruce and I once, we had a day off. We'd finished learning in Sechtem and we decided to have a day off and go and have, schmooze. So we went to Lancaster Castle, which is still a prison, a working prison. So it's been a prison for basically, 2,000 years. And long sentence. 2,000 years in prison. And anyway, so we went on this tour. And they explained that the castle was set up by the Romans to stop the Scots coming across the border and, burning the town down. And then afterwards, Elizabeth I made the fort into a castle to stop the Scots coming around across the border and burning the town down. And then everybody in the tour, she went round and she said, "Where are you from?" I was from Israel, Germany, Japan, Scotland. And everybody sort of looked and smiled. And then she said to me, "Do you think you could leave the castle the way you found it when you came in?" Anyway, they took us downstairs. Downstairs, this castle, and they just knocked down a wall for some reason or other, and they found it was not much more than the length of this room here. 4 dungeons, 4 cells, and they had some lights, not dissimilar to this actually. The door, have I told you this story? The door, it was no exaggeration. The door was that thick, it was solid oak. And it was quite small because people were much smaller in those days. And she pulled it open, sort of thing. And then, without any exaggeration at all, the length was from here to there, and that wide. So this was the dungeon. It was 4 rooms. So you could get in, and literally, I could touch the walls like that, and
You know,
if I laid
it's
it.
short also to make people short.
Sorry?
To also make the midgets.
I'm not sure it was to make them. They had other things for that. Anyway, Soph calls Soph. She said, turned around to the group of happy, smiling tourists and said, would anybody like to get in? I said, me? So, like a visitor. Anyway, so in I went, and they closed the door. It's very interesting because when the door closed, it was complete and total darkness, and you couldn't hear a sound. Right? Now, why did I want to get into this? Because I wanted to know what it was like for Avram Avinu.
Why?
Because he was in a dungeon for 10 years before they tried to burn him alive or cast him. He was in a dungeon for 10 years because he wouldn't say that Nimrod was a god. And any time he could get out, all he has to say when they bring him his slop, whatever they gave him, I say, no, okay, just to get out. I don't believe it. No. He just would not budge. But to be margish that, you have to be in. I wanted to. So it was just closed for a minute, maybe 2 minutes.
Couldn't he have lied?
Sorry?
Couldn't he have lied? Guess.
Oh, so that's a very interesting question. Well, let's go into that in another week. The problem is, I'll give you the quick answer. This is a question which happened to Jews all through the centuries, right? Why not just like during the Spanish Inquisition? Why not? And they're going to kill you in terrible ways unless you say that you believe in this particular idea. So why not just say you do and then avoid all the pain? Because you can lie for yourself. You can't lie for your children. You're going to have to send your children to the Christian school. They're going to be told, which they were, to go and spy on your parents. And even
Russians also do.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing. So you know the answer already. Okay, so he says here, Moshe Rabbeinu goes out and actually feels what they're going through. So that's the exact limit of Hashem Yisborach. He gets this idea, Hashem does this, he does this. Is it telling us that he already had sort of like Ruach HaKodesh, knew what Hashem was doing? Not sure what came first. Or is that just the basic meters that you have to have in order to be able to become the Novi? Not sure. Alpha Pekin. Noisib Olam Chavero really means to actually get down and dirty, I think is the phrase. Is that the American phrase? To actually get your fingers dirty or your hands dirty doing this. The Gemara famously says, famous Gemara that we're all familiar with, this is the Gemara in the Dorim in Lamed Tes, the Gemara says the following thing. Where are we up to? Tanur Run. I think it's a Tanur Run. Lost the place. Good. There you go. It's talking here about the mitzvah of Amar Rav Chanina. Call Mavach Chola Notel Echem Mishishim Bitzari. If you're going to visit somebody who's sick, you take away 60th of their illness. So the Gemara famously and obviously says, well, it's great. Bring 60 people. Ta-da! The Gemara says, no, it's a reducing fraction. So you need on and on and on. And then the Gemara says, but anyway, it's not just anybody who takes away the tzara of somebody, or the pain of somebody. It has to be somebody who's called a Ben Giloi, says the Gemara. So the question is, what's a Ben Giloi? So Rashi says a Ben Giloi is that's either somebody, a young person visiting a young person. Ben Giloi, Bochar Kamoisai. If the young person's lying there very sick, then it's a Bochar visiting him. Then he'll be a Ben Giloi. Ozok and Lazok, or an old person visiting an old person. And the Ran on the other side of the page, he says, quick find the Ran. Same mazel. And it's somebody who's got the exact same mazel. Right? So if you're a rich person or you're a poor person, the same sort of mazel, that sort of thing. In the common denominator obviously is, it's easy to denoise about oil and chavera because you're going to feel and how that works. We talked about that in our shir, one of our shir not too long ago. There is simply this, in Shemaim, there's a Gzardin that Yankel should suffer X amount of pain. That's the Gzardin. Right? But if you are Yankel, if you're mamish noisib oil and chavero, if you mamish feel as though you are him, and therefore it hurts you the way it hurts him, then that's when you take away a 60th of his illness, and there's no more to give, because you've taken it, because you feel the same as him. But it has to be the mamish feel the same as him, to be Mekan Mitzvah noisib oil and chavero. Okay. It's really, I suppose, a normal shir, or just the headlines of a normal shir and Nasi and Chavera. But I learned in the morning of my other Chavera, one of my other Chavera, Matnas Chaim Sefer in Kinyonim base. So it's the Kinyonim, the Memchash, the Kinyonim at the Torah Niklas by him. And here he says some very interesting, for me there's a very, very interesting insight into the idea of Nosab and Chavera. So here is, so the Memchash Kinyonim, This is Kinyan Mem Dalet, so towards the end. Haloimed al Manas Lamed. Right? So one of the ways the Torah is niknas is if you're learning in order to teach. Listen to this. The Moral Concept, the Moral says, Amem Dalet Haloimed al Manas Lamed, in this particular Kinyan of the Torah. Dovzeh, ki zeh etzim ha-Torah sheyilmed acher v'gamkein. That's etzim of what the Torah is about, you'll teach somebody else as well. It's not just that you're learning the Torah so that you've got it, you're talking about. No, in order you teach other people. I've explained this in in great depth before, which he has, that the whole point of the Torah is to learn it in order to teach it. Now, we see because Hashem taught it to Moshe. And Moshe learned the Yisrael. Ki ein hayochid roy el Torah la malosa lefichoch ikar alimad la Torah lamed oisam lachem. Ki ein hayochid roy el Torah la malosa. No individual can achieve the Torah at the highest levels unless you're willing to learn, teach it, and share what you're learning with somebody else. And that's why it has to be somebody else. He's saying here, he's saying that you yourself as the Lamdan, you yourself as the Magachir, you yourself as the Rebbe, etc. You're not, what you're learning is going to be insufficient. It'll never achieve, unless it's for the purpose of learning. Because it was designed for that purpose. The whole thing about you should learn, you should teach for free, etc., etc. No, jumping a bit. So he says the following thing. Here, I think if I remember rightly, it's Mesil Shashar. Mesil Shashar. Says the Mesil Shashar. All the Siyata Shema that you are going to get in your life, to help you understand Torah. So that's the morale and the Mesil Sharm. What you're going to get, the quality of your learning is totally dependent on wanting to teach other people.
Even without the Siyata D'Shmaya, there's practically, if you learn something, I think I got it. But that's good. Yeah, but Siyata D'Shmaya, that's something different. It's a bit like pragmatic, and it's a bit like rehearsals of an orchestra, rehearsals of unless you go over and over. Everybody sitting around this table, every one of us knows that you only really, it's a terrible thing to say, but it's true. You only really take your learning seriously when you're a young man, when you're going to be fahired. Right? When I'm going to be fahired, when I knew my fairs and your idea coming up, that's why I learned it off by heart, because I'm not actually very good. And I only felt good enough if I knew it off by heart.
There's an additional Nakriyah. And a Rebbe needs to know what each Talmud is going to ask before they ask it. When you're preparing a shir and you know your Talmidim well, you're going to see the ayin panim of your Talmidim in the learning itself.
100%.
It's not just, I know it well because I have to explain it. I have to explain it to each and every 100%. One of these Prince of Fame in a diocese.
I remember once, I only did it for 1 week. I taught Dafa Yomi for 1 week. I was doing one of these paisley hotels, actually in the hotel in Scotland owned by President Trump, called the Turnberry, one of the most famous golfing hotels in the world. And it was wonderful. 600 in those days, go back 20 years ago, £600 a night for a room. So that's like £1,000 a night. That's 20 years ago. It was pretty nice. Okay, I think that's it. They asked me to teach Dafa Yomi. So go on.
They had enough money to bring you?
I know. But it wasn't just one room. Anyway, so I wanted a floor. Anyway, so it's actually amazing. They had a pond. For fly fishing, but they had it stocked with about 5 zillion salmon because you're rich. They want you to get the knackers. They had everything was there for your. That's another.
Couldn't miss.
In Purim, I'm not going to be here in Purim, but in Purim I'll have to. Another Purim I'll tell the story of what happened when I went fishing there. But that's a different story. So they wanted me to teach Dafa Yomi. I'd never taught Dafa Yomi before, so I said to the fellow in charge, who is what's the camera coming? He said, Balabatim. When I arrived, it turned out the Balabatim was 7 Bochrim from Ponovich, 5 from Mir, various Rabbonim, Talmidei Chachamim, some Rabbonim, Talmidei Chachamim were not Rabbonim, and then some ordinary Balabatim, and then a smattering of Balachim.
Who was paying for it?
Yes. And therefore, and actually it was very, actually, because my late wife was not well, so I was quite happy to give away the base. I just spent my whole antique value shame as well. I didn't give out that beautiful bedroom the whole time, preparing, because all if you're a maggot shearer in Dafa Yomi, that's what I really disliked it intensely, and I'm full of admiration for the people who actually do it, because you have to know everything and you've got time to say nothing. You have to know everything, because you could, there were big time when you call the people who could put me in their pockets as I prepared. But actually, I think I told you maybe the story before. Halfway through, I was so frustrated because I had wagonfuls of gold, and I was able to get one coin. So I said, "Would you mind if we did Omada Yummy? Could we do Omada Yummy? Because I get some." And they very kindly said yes, so they would make up the other 3 or 4 daft for themselves. But anyway, stuff. Anyway, this is what he said here. Okay, ki asiyata d'shmaya lahasig aterel b'dim t'olab b'zeh shehu gam hamalav. That is that you're only going to be successful. You're only going to get siyata d'shmaya if you're going to teach as well. Rabbi Yishmael b'noi Omar alayman amanas lamed maspikim b'yod lemot ulalamed. As long as that's when you're going to be able to lamed to learn, is when you're want to teach as well. Fine. Jump the page. Now this is so exciting. Listen to this. See if you get this. I never got this. We all know the Kabbalistic Svarim say the Moshe Rabbeinu was a Gilgal of, Rabbi Akiva was a Gilgal of Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? Because of the parallel lives.
40 years.
Good. 40 years, and 40 years.
24,000 people died by Pinchas. 24,000.
Okay. We can go deeper and deeper. But anyway, to keep it in the simple stages, first 40 years was Rabbi Akiva's life. He was the great hater of from Jews. He was the head of Meretz.
Oh,
sorry. The Shulamet Aluni of his time. Okay. Yes, okay. Then the next 40 years of his life, then he is a trainee Novi, right? To be a shepherd was, all Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and the Shvatim, they're all the people. And what is the career choice of a trainee Novi? To be a shepherd. You're on your own. That's right. You can do your Zvaidus, fine. And the next 40 years of his life, he is the king of Lancaster. He brings the Torah and he teaches the Torah. Fine. So Rabbi Akiva, same sort of story, right? Blood.
And they both died at 120.
Sorry, and they both 340s are 120.
What's that?
340s are 120. Yeah. Okay. But listen, I didn't have this.
I'm smart like that.
Yeah. Me too. I didn't have this, but this is so gold. Listen. And how much is learning and teaching a chelik of the Torah? So, okay, which bit of his life would you say was the teaching bit? What should it be? Sorry?
Yeah, the last 4.
The last 4. Right? Oh, so that's what I thought until we learned this. Listen to this. I don't know why I missed this. Sometimes this is so good. It's really good when you kick yourself. Okay. Matzina Etza Rabbi Akiva.
In order to teach, you have to learn. You have to know.
Oh, yeah, I got that as well. But listen, here's the shtick. Again, we all know this, but suddenly, many times you've been dabbling and suddenly you see the word and go, why does it say that? How many times have we said this? Ashtray or something. Why does it? Etza Rabbi Akiva. Can you do it? It's obvious, right? Rubenstein, you know this stuff. Ma'aseh Rabbi Akiva. I'm moving because of the Gemara, because of the Samach Beis, Samach Beis. She'ishto sholcha oisel l'matar. So his wife said, off you go. But he also achre trisin shine, so off he goes. And he comes back. After many years have passed. A'aisa behedya trei sari afi talmidai. And he's got 12,000 many talmidim with him, right? Again, that's the story. V'ayim b'sifri b'zaysa brocha, zeh l'shana. Rabbi Akiva hoyo roi mem shana, v'lama Torah mem shana, Panas es Yisrael arbaim shana, and then he was the Gadol Hador for 40 years. Arkan shana. Hari shabbatayich mem shana shalomet. When he was learning, he comes with thousands of talmidim. I thought that's when he was learning. That was his learning. It's not learning unless you're sharing. He would not have had the Siyata D'Shmaya to become the great Rabbi Akiva unless he was teaching it as he was learning. I was so excited about that. I didn't have to get that. I, like you, thought it was the last 40 years. Yeah, 10 micros. No, that was called learning. He says, while he was learning and made thousands of meters, so that's not when he's called the Parnas Israel. But all that was learning in order to teach. That's what's called learning. Gewaldige stuff. Where am I up to? Page what? Which page was that? Hold on, I've got markers here. Oh, that was Gimel. Oh, it's had to be Gimel. Fine. In order to learn, he says, no, I'm missing something. I'm going to miss something. Yes, here. So another shtick from Ramat Sion in the same chelik towards in Kenyan. This is the Kenyan of this one. Mamida ala emes. Kenyan lamitas. Seder Kenyanim noisav oilim chaveri. He's talking about Mamida ala emes. Oilim chaveri machriya lekavskus and machriya lekavskus. Give somebody the benefit of the doubt, as they call it. Alpha bishu v'derek klal kol ha'ginanim heim b'midas yo'adam v'shalom ba'atzmai. Kan medarbrim al hanhoga shu doig al shalimas chaveri. What does it mean? I'm missing out a bit here. He says, Kavar b'yireina b'kinyan noisa b'oilam chaveru ki hakinyan hu shamara b'zeh shu doig al achem al ha'izeh niklas l'toig klal Yisrael. That the whole idea of noisa b'chaveru is you feel that somebody is in trouble. You feel family with him. If you feel he's not learning Torah, to shortcut this, if you feel he's not learning Torah, if he's not getting it, then you want to, if it's mishpocha, then you want to understand that this guy is really suffering. As Rashi says, imagine you're the person at the door, but imagine you're the person sitting in the yeshiva and you're not getting it. But if you've really got Havas Yisrael, if you feel mamish, everyone is, then avada you want to share. And then when you want to share, you're making he says here, your Torah's klal, part of klal Yisrael. And because you want to share it with everybody else, then of course you're going to get the Siyata Shemaya to get it right in order to share it with somebody else as well. And that's why he says this idea of Mamida al emes, taking somebody to be able to see the emes, is an essential ingredient of what the Torah is all about, that you're going to get the Siyata D'Shmaya if that's your approach to Torah, is to share it, because otherwise that's why you're not going to get the Siyata D'Shmaya. That's why Rabbi Akiva became great, because he wanted to share with other people. And then I found this story. Listen to this. And it's got me very excited. Now I've been close to Ramat Sion for a very long time. I spoke at my late wedding to my late wife, B'Lesh Shalom. So that's when I was, that's 44 years ago, nearly 45 years ago. So I've known her for a very long time. And when I have to tell you, I hope this is not disrespectful, when I first came to Yetzer Yeshiva, the Bochrim called him Ramat. Right, because he just recently graduated from Kailo. And he was a very popular younger man. And he came to be the junior mashgiach at Gates. Moshe Schwab, Reb Shimon Schwab's brother, he was the senior mashgiach, and Ramat Sion, he was still, and people still call me YY. I prefer Your Holiness, but they still call me. It doesn't bother me this like that. I think I'll probably put in my headstone one day with 120 YY. His Holiness. His Holiness. There's some people don't quite get past that stage. But, obviously, Ramat Sion has become a Adar, etc. There was a time when he was just, in fact, he often used to say the problem with the Bochrim is they forget that I used to be a Bocher. One of the many times when I went to see Rosh Shach, by Yosef Yeshivas Begeser, when I was a Bocher in Yeshiva Begeser. So, when he was a Bocher. Okay. Shvach is a yeshiva, sheyesh bo maila yeser al yeshivas be'eretz Yisrael. He praised to me the mile of gates of yeshiva that they have over the yeshivas in Eretz Yisrael. It's a very remarkable thing for an Israel, an Eretz Yisrael decade Rosh Yeshiva to say. I can't resist telling you that Rabbi Yashiv, I think I told you this once, Rabbi Yashiv once, there was sending a bocher who wasn't steiging, wasn't doing well in Yerushalayim, so they thought it was sent to Gateshead, the Yerushalayim of Europe, as they call it. And so the Gateshead Rav told me, he was on the phone to Rabbi Yashiv, and he said, yes, it's a good idea to send him to Gateshead, there are no distractions in Gateshead. Because Gateshead is one of the most anti-Semitic places in the world. It's also one of the ugliest places in the world. There is absolutely nothing. It's the largest town in England, not city. For a city, Henry VIII said you've got to have a cathedral and you've got to have a university, and it has neither. So it's a mere town, but it's the largest town in England, and there's nothing there apart from really anti-Semitic non-Jews. So, I mean, you'd have to be a genius to be distracted. There's only Torah, right? So I said, yes, it's a very good idea to send them to Gateshead. And there are no distractions in Rishon. And there are distractions in Yerushalayim. So, and the Rob said to me, no, don't.
Other yeshivas.
Yeah, it's other yeshivas. That's very good, yeah. Anyway, Shiraka says yeshiva, you get shocked to get to yeshiva because what is the mile of the habab of yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael? I'm actually not sure if this is. Well, we'll see what he says. Yishom bocha mufgar loima im bocha tzir. That an older bocha sits and learns with a younger bocha. So we had a seder in Gateshead Yeshiva where the older bocha used to learn with the younger bocha. And he said that was a Gewaltig Gesach. So Rav Shach said it's a Gewaltig Gesach. Well, hey, so I'm going, Rav Shach said it's a Rokshem. Yom omdu al datoi, hoyoloi seder imi shecholish mimenu. They always had a seder with somebody, one of who was clearly not up to his standard. In order, and that, or the Lashon is, and the order that they would be given, that Rav Shach would give them, behiris in his learning. And whether that's or Siyat Shema, Bagam Borloi Ki Davka Mimin Mazeh Shav. Yeah, he says it clearly. Bagam Bor. So as you were saying, that gives you the clarity because you've got to make sure you understand it properly to be able to say it over, and particularly if somebody's going to be struggling. So you have to make sure you get every bit of it. But more than that, Bagam Borloi Ki Davka Belim Mazeh Shav Hasiyat Shema Shaloi Belim Torah. But his only Torah would get the Siyat Shema. So the name of the shir was keeping the Torah for yourself or sharing. It's possible to keep the Torah for yourself, but then you're not going to get the Siyata D'Shma. And the Torah is not going to turn into something which changes you. And you can effectively turn yourself into a professor of Talmud without going to university to become a professor of Talmud. But the Siyata D'Shma, as the Moral of Prague says, is when the Torah you're teaching becomes, Torah's a klal. And you got all the chusim of the klal. It's a gather of noseh b'onam chavira because you want somebody to be successful. You've got to imagine yourself as the fellow at the door. And that applies to Limit Torah as well, and our own avoidance issue.